In addition to the Torah being given on the holiday of Shavuos, we find that the day itself is connected with three Jewish leaders, and they are Moshe Rabbeinu, who conveyed the Torah to the Yidden, David HaMelech, whom the Gemara says passed away on Shavuos, and the Baal Shem Tov, whose yahrzeit is on Shavuos. Moshe Rabbeinu is the person who gave us the 5 books of the Torah. David HaMelech, it's brought down, he's the one who authored the 5 books of Tehillim, and the same for the Baal Shem Tov. It says that he's connected with the level 5, being that there's 4 levels of the neshama, there's various parts of the Torah, and the 5th part is the level of Yechida, which is the most esoteric, the most innermost part of the Torah, which the Baal Shem Tov revealed. Everything that happens in the world is by divine providence, and how much more so, and most definitely is it the case when you have 3 Jewish leaders of the Jewish people coming together on one day. It's by divine providence, in order for us to learn something from it and to be empowered as a result of it. So let's understand what's unique about the 3 Jewish leaders. Moshe Rabbeinu was the first Jewish king. David HaMelech, it says after he was anointed, the kingship belonged to him and his children until the coming of Mashiach. And it says about the Baal Shem Tov, he was the first one to act in this style of a leader by revealing Hasidus and starting the Hasidic dynasty in general. So these 3 Jewish leaders were first in each one of their own realms. Now, what happened on Shavuos? Shavuos is the day that we received the Torah. In addition, it's referred to as the day that the Jewish people became a Mamlachas Kohanim. Mamlachas Kohanim means a nation of priests, a nation of leaders, a nation of kings. And what does that mean? A king, by definition, is someone who is able to operate in a way of being very broad, to operate in a way of commanding that what he would like to be done should actually happen, and as well as operating in a way of calmness, that there's nothing that can distract him because of his position and because of his leadership and his title and the place that he stands. There's nothing that can truly be in his way. So it says the same thing about the Jewish people, that after Hashem gave us the Torah and we became this nation of priests and this nation of kings, we have the ability to rise above nature and to perform Torah and mitzvahs in a way without having any distractions, and to be completely devoted to every mitzvah that we do. In fact, it goes so far to say that even one mitzvah should not be able to disturb another mitzvah. A person shouldn't say, I have to rush, or I can't perform this mitzvah to its complete, most beauty, and the most proper way of doing it because I have to go on to do another mitzvah. Even one mitzvah does not distract from another mitzvah. But a person is able to completely give himself over to everything that he's doing as if he was a king, as if he is a king, and completely doing the mitzvah at hand. So that's what happened when the Yidden became a Mamlachas Kohanim at the giving of the Torah. Now, a person could say that this sounds really good, but that's if you have a neshama, the way it's higher than a body. But what happens when you have a neshama in a body and you have to deal with regular mundane tasks and you're in a world that has a lot of disturbances? Where do you get the ability that you should actually feel like being a king? So therefore, we have these 3 leaders that come together on one day, on the day of Shavuos, to further empower every individual to reveal this level of kingship that he has within him. So let's discuss these 3 leaders. Moshe Rabbeinu, David HaMelech, and the Baal Shem Tov, they lived in 3 different times. Moshe Rabbeinu was the leader of the Jewish people when they were in the desert, when they experienced God after getting the Torah, and they lived in a very miraculous way, where they had everything provided for them, and they were a nation people living in the desert, completely devoted to the study and performance of Hashem's mitzvahs. Then you have David HaMelech, who was the leader of the Jewish people when they came into the land of Israel, and they had to actually toil the land and follow the various halachas that the Torah puts forward and how you have to work. But nevertheless, they were in a holy place, in the land that Hashem's eyes are always watching, and it was felt, this divine energy, in a more palpable way than later generations, and most specifically in the time of the Baal Shem Tov, where the darkness of the world was very felt and the Yidden experienced a lot of hardships. So these are 3 generations and 3 different leaders who were the people in charge during those times. Now, more specifically, when the Torah was given, there was 3 things that happened. Number 1, there was a revelation of the Torah being given, and that was the effect that it had on the world, but it was just for the time that Hashem was revealed. And then later on, the Jewish people had to go, and they went into the land of Israel, and then they had to actually work the land. And then further on down the chain, there came a time that the darkness of the world was very big. And that's when you had the Baal Shem Tov who came around. So it says that just like you have these 3 time periods, so too you have it in a person's life. In a person's life, you have a time that he's completely devoted to learning Torah. You have, which would be the equivalent of the Moshe Rabbeinu. You have the time that a person is involved in prayer, which is David HaMelech, like a Sefer Tehillim. It's a book of prayer, and it's a time that a person prays for the things that he needs and the things that he is going to be occupied with, and he asks Hashem that it should go the way he wants it to be. And then you have the third time phase in a person's life where a person is involved in Mils Chasadim, in doing good acts and doing things that the Torah says you have to do, but it's not prayer and it's not learning of Torah. Now, a person in each one of these three categories, and it can be all three categories in a person, various times of the day, where does he get the power that he should feel like a king, that he should be able to learn Torah like Moshe Rabbeinu, not have any distractions? So he gets that on Shavuos from Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu empowers every individual to have this level of kingship, that when he's learning Torah, there should be nothing that can distract him at all. And the same thing when it comes to prayer, and it comes to prayer for things that a person needs and the necessities of life and the things that he's involved with. How could a person have the power and the courage to stand up to the world and furthermore feel like a king that nothing can distract him? That power you get from David HaMelech. And furthermore, when it comes to doing physical work in the world, Ma'asim Tovim, and the darkness of the world is extremely great, and a person can feel like it's more than enough that he's even able to do the mitzvah, but how can you demand from him that he should, beautify the mitzvah and even furthermore feel like there's nothing distracting him? So where does he get that power? That power you get from the Baal Shem Tov, from learning Chassidus, from learning the most innermost part of the Torah. Through learning that, you realize how deeply connected you are with Hashem and how you're above nature and you have the ability to affect nature and not be affected by nature, and on the contrary, to interact with everything in a way of being a king. So the coming together of these three Jewish leaders on the holiday of Shavuos empowers every individual in the various things that he is going to be involved with, al pi Torah and mitzvahs, to feel like a king and to completely light up the world through the Torah and mitzvahs and ultimately bring Mashiach Tzidkenu.